Hey guys, I hope you're all doing very well. Welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be talking about the Marvels. Now, it's no secret or surprise that I really think this year Marvel has been really falling short and flat with ideas now. I think really the movies and the TV shows have not really hit many expectations, to be brutally honest with you. I think there's just lack of original ideas personally, and it's no surprise now that this is pretty much evident of what we're seeing right now with some of the recent projects. So going into the Marvels, I wasn't going to be really surprised that this is going to be some sort of hit of a movie. I think all the delays and all the edits and everything that's been rumoring around its release has kind of made this movie not really well hyped. And I think for a lot of people probably going to watch it, I don't think it's going to reflect in really being a movie that will exceed expectations. But I will say I did finish watching the second season of Loki as well, which I thought actually had some decent moments, but again, nothing special. So going into the Marvels, what do I think of it? And it's unfortunately it gets bad as I thought it was. It's actually worse than I originally thought it would be. And yeah, it just doesn't impress. I think in general this is a pretty bad film. Now, I think to be honest with you, going into the deep depths of this movie is going to go into spoilers. But honestly, I think watching this movie, you really won't see anything that's really being spoiled, or really anything that just somehow comes out as like an oh my god moment or anything. It's just a very flat movie, very subdued with any original ideas, and very lackluster story and characters and writing. I mean, there's a lot. So overall, if I had to really describe the Marvels, it's a pretty bad film. It does sound like I'm kind of ranting about it, but honestly, I don't really took any sort of positives from this film. So I really want to kind of dig deep into the problems with this movie. The real first big problem I have with this film is its story. It's probably one of the most messy narratives I have probably seen in the whole of the MCU. It's practically doesn't have a consistent plot, and even for the characters, there's no real main villain protagonist. The only real villain protagonist is Dar-Benn, who I really would say is probably one of the most uncharismatic villains in definitely the MCU, but probably in many superhero movies. She's not scary, she's not threatening, she's not cool, she's got no real arcing story, just one of the most throwaway villains I've ever seen. And it doesn't really make me feel that there really is a purpose for her. The only real purpose I will say, and this is kind of getting into spoilers, but it's not really spoilers to be honest, but the only thing she really has is trying to get a bangle, or from Miss Marvel or anything. She acquires one of them. She tries to acquire another one to gain some sort of weird superpowers as well. That's really the only thing she really seems to have the main objective for. But it's really just doesn't have anything interesting to take from it. It doesn't give you a reason for why it happens, and what the real sole purpose of it is to achieve from. But that's kind of really one real main problem with this film is its story. I think the cuts and everything just really kind of showed that this movie didn't really have anything going forward for it, and I think definitely the how the narrative played out did not surprise me. Now, I really also would arguably say that most of this time I've been watching this film, it seems more that every single opportunity they had with the writing is that they really tried to put so much of a cheap comedy into it, and it is so irritating. I think it becomes more pandering and more unbearable the more you listen to it. It's literally probably some of the most lazy pieces of writing I've seen in a movie that doesn't really have any reason that they really somehow care about building a story, building emotions, or building any sort of relationships at all. It doesn't do any of that. Everything just feels like sanitized conversations, and the fact they try and fist through these sort of cheap comedy lines, it becomes more irritating than ever, and it just becomes such a huge turn off. this has kind of been the way that Marvel been doing this. There does seem to be questions whether to believe that this is just all done by AI rather than actually, good writers actually doing this. Anyways, I don't know, but it's just the writing is also very bad. The acting, the dialogue is also really bad. Also, I really don't think they really made any sort of real story for Nick Fury as well. It's even questions to know what sort of role he even has with this movie as well as the MCU moving forward. You know, watching Secret Invasion, I have to say that was probably one of the lowest points of the movie. They kind of didn't do anything justice for Nick Fury at all. They pretty much sidelined him. And now it feels like with the Marvels as well, they did exactly the same. So again, this is like real sort of criticisms I could really aim at this movie, to be honest. I think the only real thing I could really take from this film in some way is some action moments do look good. I don't really like the use of the cats, though, to be honest with you. The way they use the cats and all the tentacles coming out of their mouth, is I don't really like the looks and the appeal of it. It does seem pretty cringe to watch, and it doesn't really. It seems very lazily done. I also would arguably say that because of all this stuff that they do with the action and the cats and everything, the CGI is really awful. Really, really bad. And it gets to a point where it just looks everything so artificial and disorientating that you really just can't really relate to the action at all. It's just, you know, just CGI fart effects, lots of sort of, sequences, fights and everything, and just the camera's disorientating all the time. It was just really, really hard to watch. I think, to be honest with you, really being positive about this film is really, really hard. You really do struggle to find anything redeemable about this film. Maybe action moments at times look good, but apart from that, it's not great. And even for the three main characters, where you have Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, Monica Rambeau, like these characters, that they are just not good. They don't have any sort of chemistry between them. They just feel like they're all disconnected. And even they use these powers to try and they have these sort of energy absorbing powers to try and teleport and come back and everything. It didn't even feel like that was really the main emphasis that they wanted to make for this movie. It just seems like a gimmick. So this is really something that I really can't take much praise for this film. It's just so hard to really kind of find anything good and redeemable about this movie. To many, this may seem harsh to some, but honestly, that's my reaction with this film. Some people would argue, why bother watching it? The only real reason I watch it is because I could pretty much use it with my membership for the cinema and don't really have to pay the ticket. But God forbid you pay full price for a ticket like this. I would definitely demand a refund for it, because it was really, really miserable. So I have to say this is a bad film. So overall, if I had to rate The Marvels, it's really, really rough, but I'm gonna have to give it a 2 out of 10. It's really, really rough. I mean, you're gonna have a hard time watching it. The acting is unbearable. The chemistry between the three main protagonists are hard. The villain is horribly written with no real purpose at all. No arching plot, nothing. It is just an all-round forgettable MCU movie. It's probably the most forgettable MCU movie I've watched, and probably the worst MCU movie I've watched. And those words I don't take lightly. It's probably the worst Marvel movie since Morbius, although you can't really technically say that's part of the MCU. But they all try and integrate these universes all together anyway, so who knows. I think overall, this year, it really makes me question what, the real main objective and the real storyline that what Marvel is trying to achieve, what they're trying to do with these characters and the whole universe. I think there are questions whether they're just using this multiverse as a real fad to make everything unexpected and just kind of come up with their own movies and their own narratives. I really think they should just go back to the simple basis of how they make these movies good, and not just kind of pander all this sort of multiverse garbage and all this unexpected garbage to appease audiences for something that no one's going to care about. But anyways, that's my review of this movie. It's unfortunately wasn't a good experience for me. But yeah, hopefully maybe you guys can let me know what you think about it. Please like, subscribe, dislike if you want to dislike. And yeah, that's about it. See you later.